Today I want to talk to you about my journey to the INSEAD MBA program, one of the world's leading MBA schools, and it has been ranked #1 consistently by the Financial Times. At the end of this video, I'm going to share with you the things that I think are different between an unsuccessful MBA application and a successful one, based on my personal experience. I get this question a lot by students who are planning to apply to business school and are considering how they can make changes to their profile. Should they be switching jobs? Should they wait for more work experience? Should they try to get a better GMAT score, etc.? And there are a lot of different moving parts as you try to navigate your career to lead to a point where you are able to attend a top business degree. In this video, I'll talk to you about my experience doing just that. In the early years of my career, how I decided I want to go to business school, when and where I applied, and how, most importantly, I failed, and how I was able to learn from that failure and translate some of those learnings to eventually get me to INSEAD. Needless to say, going to INSEAD has fundamentally changed the course of my career and the rest of my life, presumably. So I'm hugely supportive if you're excited about a business degree and looking to build a global career through an MBA program. Keep watching. A little bit of background. I used to work at JP Asset Management in Bombay, and I have an arts advertising background. And so I was part of the marketing team in JP. And in my second year of working there, I started to hear about and think about an MBA degree because I was interested in business. And I realized very quickly that I actually wanted to be part of the corporate world and gain some of those skills that were necessary to rise the ladder. I obviously was met with a lot of different perspectives, right? There were enough people telling me, you don't need a business degree, you can actually read about all the business concepts online, you can actually build your network on your own, you don't really have to waste all this money to go to business school. I don't come from a wealthy family, so that was always a factor. However, there was this one mentor of mine at JP who gave me this one tidbit of advice, and he said, look, everyone has different reasons to do what they do. But if you go to a top business school, you will fundamentally shift your orbit of operation. And what he meant by that was you start to interact with a different set of people. You start to interact with high potential corporate colleagues who are eventually going to be part of your network for the years and decades to come. And he called that being part of a different orbit. And I really liked that analogy for me. And so with the intent of building a global career and wanting to be part of the business world on the global stage, I set out towards my MBA journey. Now, with that goal in mind, I started to research schools and apply to them. I had taken the GMAT many years ago and I had got a 670. So, I looked it up and said 670 is not a fabulous score. It's okay. And I thought maybe, given my diversity of profile, which is that I have an arts background, not your classic, engineering or math degree, maybe my GMAT score will be just enough. And so I used that score and I applied to a couple of different schools. Now, I'll talk you through my entire journey. So year one, which is by when I had 2 years of work experience, I applied to Wharton and with my GMAT score of 670, and I got rejected. So I said, doesn't matter, fine, next year. The next year, when I had 3 years of work experience, I applied to ISB and Harvard. And Harvard, I got rejected. At ISB, I was invited for an interview. So I went to Hyderabad from Bombay and did the interview, and then I got rejected after that. Now, of course, by this time, I was really beginning to lose my confidence. And I had a couple of options in front of me, right? Option one was to say, look, Ria, you're not going to get through, you're not getting through ISB, you're not getting through Wharton or Harvard. So should I just change my aspiration and apply to a, lower rung school, to a tier 2, tier 3 school? Or the other option in front of me was to level up. And I call this failing forward. And this is such a powerful concept. I'll probably make a video about this again on a separate subject of how to deal with failure. But at this point, there were the two options in front of me, which is to take a step back and lower my aspiration, or to actually fundamentally change the game for me and level up to something that I wasn't able to access once I had the insight of why. At this point, then I put the whole MBA experience on pause, or the application process on pause. And I was extremely upset, quite dejected, starting to lose my confidence. And did a bit of thinking and research over the years to think about why did I not get through those schools. One of the reasons obviously seemed to be my GMAT score wasn't high enough. So, I had to improve that before I applied again. The other thing was, with the ISB, for example, I had gotten the interview with my 670 score. So I thought maybe my score wasn't the problem. There was something in the interview that I wasn't able to communicate or demonstrate. And the more I thought about that, the more I realized that I actually wasn't able to articulate the answer of why I wanted to do an MBA at that point in time. So I took that feedback to say, I need to really dig deep and understand my own aspirations before I apply again. The third thing I sort of realized was I actually hadn't likely demonstrated any leadership experience, any meaningful leadership experience in my profile up until that point. I had worked at JP Morgan, but I had done very similar kinds of work for the 3 years that I had been there. And so then I put my whole MBA search on pause, and I really set out to figure out, what do I care about? What is something I'm passionate about, excited about? Where do my skills lie? And in that moment, I started to explore businesses that got me excited. And through that search, I ended up finding a role, luckily, at this amazing startup called Millop Social Ventures, based out of Bangalore. And I moved there, worked there for 2 years, built some of the growth business and the growth strategy from the ground up with the co-founders. It was a phenomenal experience, both from a learning perspective, professionally, as well as a personal development experience. And after having worked there for a year, I started to feel like I was now getting ready. And so I took the GMAT again. This time I really doubled down and studied, and maybe I'll make another video about the GMAT prep. I got a 740 this time. Which schools do I really want to go to? Which school resonates with me more? Why do I want to go to INSEAD versus Wharton? 1 year versus 2 year MBA. I also had now the maturity to think about my finances and think about, can I even afford a 2 year MBA? What do I want to do after my business degree? And so on and so forth. And so that led me to the search, but I only applied to INSEAD and the Kellogg 1 year program. And then I got into INSEAD, and I didn't get through Kellogg. But that's for various reasons. I didn't actually have the prerequisite to finish the pre-needed courses of accounting and finance that you need to do to be able to do the 1 year program. And so that's how I got the one school I really wanted to go to. That's when I had 100% conversion. But until that point, for the few years before, my conversion rate or success rate was 0%. Now, what was different? The first few years, I applied to Wharton, ISB, and Harvard, and I didn't get in. And then the one time I applied only to INSEAD, I got in. What was different? I think there were three things that were components of this. Number one, my GMAT score. The first time I applied, I had a 670. The next time I had a 740. Pretty big difference. If I had recognized the fact that my profile being diverse and different would actually necessitate a higher GMAT score because the admissions committee would likely need validation of my ability to handle complex quantitative work on campus. Second, my CV and my work experience. When I had applied to Wharton, ISB, and Harvard, my experience was actually limited to a singular company where I did not have significant leadership experience. The second time I applied, though, I had a longer work experience, but more importantly, I had actually done a diverse set of things and was able to demonstrate entrepreneurship, leadership, and really building something new in a completely new field. It was also something I was a lot more passionate about. And that leads me to number three, which is the essays and the interviews. The first time around, I had a lack of clarity on why I was applying to business school. What did I want to get out of it? What was unique about me? What was my story and passion project? What did I want to build in the world? And that also led to a lack of a compelling reason for why this specific school. Why did I care about Wharton? Why did I care about INSEAD? Why did I care about ISB versus any other school in the world? It was hard for me to articulate that because I still hadn't fully crystallized why I wanted to go to business school at all. The second time around, I had actually complete clarity on why I wanted to go to business school. I wanted a global career. I wanted to do strategy consulting. I wanted international experience. And that led me to pick the right school that was actually just that fit with my aspiration, and where then the chance of success was actually much higher. So friends, that leads me to a few tips on building a successful business school application. Now, of course, this is not a complete list or comprehensive in any way. It's based on my experience, as you've just heard, but I'd like to leave you with 5 things. Number 1, have a clear, compelling reason of why you want to go to business school. And don't just rely on the cookie cutter reasons. Really think about what is it that you really want? And believe me, you will find deeper answers that, even if they sound cliched, are true to you. Second, select a school that resonates with your aspiration and your personality. My big reason was an international career. I had also selected strategy consulting as a specific field I wanted to go in based on my profile and my interests. I also realized I actually didn't have a lot of the financial runway to be able to go to a 2-year business school, so that already narrowed it down to 1-year business school. Get a good GMAT score. This sounds super obvious, and it's probably like saying, okay, Ria, this is a useless tip. But actually, based on my experience, I had got a 670, and I was kind of lazy, and I said, let me just apply with this, big deal. But, in retrospect, I was settling. And if you think you can do better and you have time, then do better. Don't settle for a lower score. You're effectively settling for a program that doesn't necessarily match your potential. And by consequence, settling for a career that doesn't match your potential. And so, that's the one thing I'd say, which is get the best GMAT score you can possibly get. And I know this is not a video about GMAT, but if you're applying to business school, this is a critical piece of the puzzle. And so I highly recommend that you invest a lot of time and effort in getting a score that really matches what you believe you can do. Fourth, build meaningful work experience. Now, the word meaningful is really important here. A lot of people ask me, I only have 1.5 years, should I wait for it to be 3.5 years? And sure, there is some value to the number, but in my view, it's not just the number of years of experience you have, it's the quality of work experience. Have you built something from scratch? Have you been entrepreneurial? Have you demonstrated leadership skills? Have you done something exceptional in your field? Have you actually demonstrated and led with passion? And so answering these sorts of questions is really important. You could have done all of this in 6 months. Or you could have 6 years of work experience, but still not have actually learned something or added value. So when I think of work experience, I always think of, is it meaningful? Has it added value to you? How have you added value to your field and your work? And if the answer to those two is lukewarm or uncertain, then I would really rethink your next career step and say, maybe you're not ready for an MBA at the moment. Maybe you need to spend a year doing something that's actually meaningful. And the fifth is be able to communicate all of the above, which is your compelling story, your work experience, your reason to go to an MBA, in a crystal clear, strong narrative. Now, this is the tactical part, right? Where you actually write your essay, where you prepare for the interviews, and this takes practice and preparation. So, all in all, I want to leave you with a couple of messages. There is no shortcut to a business school. You have to do the work, but it's totally rewarding and completely worth it. If you face some setbacks in your MBA application journey, don't lose heart. Instead, use that opportunity to take the feedback and really incorporate it into your business school strategy and fail forward. Don't fail backward. And don't let your confidence suffer for too long. It might suffer for a bit, but don't sit with it and let it fundamentally shift the sense of your potential. I hope this was helpful. I know there are many videos out there about applying to business schools, but I wanted to share this experience particularly because I think this concept of failing on the way to success is such an important one. Maybe I'll do another video on how to fail well and the importance of failure. I think it's something we just don't talk about enough. But if you're facing setbacks, you are not alone. And everyone who seems successful at the moment has been through those ups and downs and many, many downs before they got there. So just keep at it, learn from the experience, and fail forward. Good luck on your MBA journey. I look forward to hearing from you in the comments. If you like this sort of content and are interested in building a global business career, please subscribe and like this video. Thank you for watching. Bye.